A long day of testimony on 2 proposed laws prohibiting genetically modified organisms on Hawaii Island was held at the Hawaii County Council's Public Safety and Mass Transit Committee on Wednesday. Hours of passionate discussion stretched the hearing into the nighttime hours. Some of the most interesting discussions happened outside after the meeting was over. The council members did not vote on either Brenda Ford's Bill 109 or Margaret Willie's Bill 113. Since both Ford and Willie are the chair and vice chair of the committee, and the chair is unable to speak on bills until all other discussion has ended, Ford surrendered the chair. Hamakua Councilwoman Valerie Poindexter was voted into the chair, and she decided to end the meeting immediately.
After listening to the discussion early on, and hearing Mr. Kern and the rest of you, I think the majority said that it would be okay to reconvene at 8 on Friday morning. So I'm going to put this committee into recess until Friday morning at 8 o'clock.
She told you that was going to happen. She told you that was going to happen. You cannot be upset now.
Discussion on the bills would have likely gone on for hours. We'll have to wait until Friday to see how the council members feel about the 2 bills. Councilwoman Brenda Ford's Bill 109 is considered to be even more extreme than Willie's Bill 113. Both would put an end to open-air cultivation and development of GMOs on Hawaii Island. But where Willie's bill would exempt the GMO crops that already exist on the island, like transgenic papayas or corn used to feed dairy cows in O'Okala, Ford's bill would force the same industries to dispose of their GMO crops within 30 days of the bill's passage. Ford's bill would exempt GMOs in state or federal licensed medical or agricultural-based research institutions if they are contained in a high-level biosafety facility. The Department of Research and Development would administer Willie's bill. The Department of Environmental Management would handle the duties under Ford's bill. And as far as enforcement goes, both bills carry a $1,000 fine per day. Willie's bill would make violators responsible for court and legal costs as well as damage to non-genetically engineered crops, neighboring properties, and water sources. Ford's bill would jail violators who fail to comply. The first round of hearings on GMO prohibition in Hawaii County drew hundreds of testifiers over the course of multiple days. The community was deeply divided over the issue.
We had 594 people sign up. Out of those, 273 spoke at the hearings. I have finally almost finished reading through, these are all in support of the bill, not with any attachment. These are opposed. In addition, we each got many emails individually, so there was a great deal. There's just extraordinary knowledge.
When it came time for the council committee to vote, Willie withdrew the bill.
What if I withdraw and
I will kill you. I will kill you.
Okay, and resubmit. Okay, I just want to get out all the options here. I'm just saying, otherwise, I am fine with the way that Councilmember Onishi said. I don't want people to feel, okay, Margaret, she's adding on this and this layer, and I want the communication out there. I want this discussion
Miss Willie.
Okay, I want to just finish my sentence.
Willie's withdrawal prompted Ford to declare that she was going to introduce a bill herself.
I will be bringing forward amendment at the next meeting, whether it's recessed or postponed or whatever. I'm going to do one myself. It's going to be really simple. Okay, here's what we need to do. We need to set the policy that we do not want any more GMO species on this island. Period. End of the discussion. Now, we can modify that. If you guys want to have an ad hoc committee and modify that a little bit later on, great. If we don't get this policy set in stone as soon as possible, the state is going to step in and do it, or we're going to have a biotech industry company come in and start planting GMO crops. They don't have to call it open field testing. They can say, it's not a test, we're just going to grow it all over your island, and they can do it. We've got to stop this as soon as possible. That's why I think we need to put a no more GMO species law in place and get this over with. Then if you want to talk about it, task force, ad hoc, whatever you want to do, go do it.
There were far fewer testifiers at Wednesday's meeting than at the first round of meetings held over the summer. Fatigue may be setting in on both sides as they have tirelessly campaigned for their point of view to be heard.
All the farmers, all of us are constantly trying to be here. Every week we're out and about. We've been going to farmers markets. We've been, at the stores. We've just been trying to raise as much awareness as possible, and it is very tiring to be here. And I would love to see a simplified process where, we've already made our point that enough people have spoken up that we don't need to have, these mass amounts of turnouts over and over again. I would love to see that the public has spoken and that can just be considered and taken advantage of.
We spoke to Derek Brewer with GMO-free Hawaii Island. He's been at all the big demonstrations and hearings, and he says he wishes the process could have been shortened and simplified.
Well, I like that that there are some options out there. The way I view it is which then works best for the community. It gives us a couple options to explore rather than going, well, we don't have enough options. It's better to have more options than none. But it is kind of confusing, and I understand that. And that's why it is more important that we focus on the priorities of the bills being that we do want a GMO-free. Either one says sort of the same basic concept, that we want to eliminate GMOs from this island being grown here in one way or another, whether we do give an exemption to people that are here already as a sign of good faith and a progression, or if we do take that hard stance, which is, I believe, the best route to go as far as GMO-free Hawaii Island, and a lot of people feel, is that no GMOs are fully understood well enough to allow them to have open field testing here. And so I would like to see that we just had one bill, but now that we have two, I feel that at least the ideas are continually being brought up. I would pass any bill that would ban genetically modified organisms on this island. So I'm glad to see, a number of options.
Brewer said that at this point, they have said all that needs to be said.
If you drag anything out, that people are going to get tired. And we've addressed this issue before, and that we've already expressed our concerns. And it's almost a frustration that we have to keep expressing these concerns. How many times do we have to say that there are, significant health concerns for the community? How many times do we have to say that there are other options to explore that we're not exploring? And so that does wear us out. And but it is fun though to be out there and amongst the people, to do rallies, we had the sign waving going on early, and I enjoy the interaction. It is a good time for us to be able to talk to the other farmers as well.
Yeah, it is a long process. My point of view on this is that, I've been farming for 30-something years, so it's not easy, and it's getting harder and harder and harder.
We also spoke to prominent Hamakua Springs country farmer Richard Ha about these latest proposals.
It's very discouraging and very, very, it's unbelievable to criminalize farmers. In the old Hawaiian tradition, the farmers had a really esteemed place in the society. Right now, we're getting ready to criminalize farmers. We're going to do something so serious that I don't think the folks on the council actually realize how significant it is that what we're getting ready to do.
Ha is not a papaya farmer. He sticks to bananas, tomatoes, and other crops on his Pepakeo farm. His crops are not genetically modified, yet he defends the right of farmers to use the available tools in agriculture.
In the last 10 years, things really changed. But 10 years is a long time. A lot of folks don't realize the change happened. What happened was oil prices quadrupled, supply costs went up, farmers were not able to pass it on. Now, if that keeps on going, the farmers are in a bind as is. To me, the thing that can make a difference and save the farmers and save Hawaii, really, because we're so isolated, is new technology. The new technology is, right now, the genetically modified possibilities. It could be in the form of maybe a crop that can, or all crops can generate its own nitrogen. Then we don't have to bring the stuff in. What happened if you could get the crops to repel insects? Then you'd have to spray for any insects. What happened if the sweet potato you see growing on the Hamakua coast, you can take the gene that makes it so that you don't have to spray for fungus, transfer it to the regular potato. Regular potato, you got to spray 15 times, one cycle. We'd have a whole new crop here. So as you look into the future, this is a way of getting our costs down. And what my main concern is trying to figure out a solution that in the end will position us 10 and 15, 20 years into the future in a place where we take care of everybody.
Ha became visibly emotional when talking about how he sees these measures affecting the future of farming in Hawaii.
All the other islands the rest of the world can do the next GMO, whatever it may be. Just the Big Island can't. What will happen is the Big Island farmers are eventually going out of business. So what would any responsible older person tell these kids? You know what they told? Don't be a farmer. Get out. And nobody will know that took place because it will take place right on the dinner table. You know, up until last year, until this came up, I was so optimistic. I wanted to dedicate my land into perpetuity for ag. You know, now I cannot tell you how disappointed I am that this is taking place. And now, and we still got to say, we need to, the most important thing we need going into the future is a spirit of aloha. We're losing it right now.
Then our last interview of the day, Dr. Dennis Gonzalez, who was honored just a few months ago by Governor Neil Abercrombie for his work in developing the transgenic rainbow papaya.
This gentleman here is the Rainbow Man.
Papaya was able to resist the devastating ring spot virus that had decimated the industry.
I do hereby proclaim April 6, 2013 as Dr. Dennis Gonzalez Day in Hawaii and ask all the people of Hawaii to join all of us here today in honoring Dr. Gonzalez for his contributions to the agricultural industry here in Hawaii and throughout the world.
Now, the retired Gonzalez finds himself inserted in a debate that grows more bitter by the week.
Yeah, it has changed a lot. Yeah, since I think it was in April or something, I got the governor's Dennis Gonzalez Day, and he mentioned about the GMO papaya and the zero waste thing. And yeah, it was very good to have that. And then in today's testimony, at least three of the testimonies talked about Dr. Gonzalez papaya not being good, not being accepted in so many places and all of this stuff. So yeah, it's a very change of scenery, and it is very interesting, very, very interesting.
As the Sun said on the parking lot where we talked, Gonzalez launched into a detailed account of how he developed the rainbow papaya, which could be declared illegal if Ford's bill is voted through.
I mean, we started in 1978 because they said to try to develop a control measure. By about 1984, that's when we really tried to utilize the concept of pathogen-derived resistance to develop it. That was a new concept then, and it took us 7 years of research until finally in 1991 we had developed genetically engineered papaya, the parent of the rainbow papaya, that was resistant under greenhouse conditions. So, wow, your ideas, and then the industry, the state, it was the dean of the College of Ag. They told me, Dennis, in 1978, can you help us? I said, oh, yeah, sure. So we tried, and then we went through this genetic engineering, and then we got the first positive results in 1991. And we did the first field trial of that in Waimanalo on Oahu. And that started in April 1992. And lo and behold, in May 1992, they discovered the virus in Pahoa. And the rest is history. By 1994, the virus was spread so much that everything was going. 1995, so we worked towards developing the now sun-up and rainbow papaya. The 1992, we started the field trial in Waimanalo. The industry started going down, and you can look at the statistics. 1992, they produced 56 million pounds of fresh papaya marketed. Down until 1998, down to 26 million. And there was no GMO papaya at that time. It was a virus. So in the meantime, us scientists were trying to figure out how we could get the information we needed, no support from big companies. All our motive was to help the papaya growers in Hawaii. They were asking for the help. We did all of that, did all of the deregulation. So I know what we did in the deregulation. I know the research we did. And got that thing through, did the field trial in um, Rusty Perry's farm starting in October 1995. That's where the rainbow was planted under controlled conditions, and the results were dramatic. We have published, you can see the dramatic results in resistance and yield, quality, and all of that stuff. And we worked towards deregulating the papaya starting in early 1996. And by 1998, we did have the papaya deregulated in May and distributed the seeds free to farmers, free to the growers. We had to work out the intellectual properties and work the lawyers, work with the companies that had the intellectual property. Part of it was Monsanto. They virtually gave the intellectual property to the industry. And in May 1st, about 6 years after the introduction of the virus into Pune, after we discovered, the rainbow papaya was released, and virtually it saved the industry.
Gonzalez said the hardest thing is how the proposed laws have divided the community.
And when I see farmers, the second generation farmers, making a profit, farmers not going to farm unless they're not making money, making a profit, and then I see these things. This as a retired scientist and of someone who started way back in 1978 when many of these people were not born yet. This is what makes me sad. And perhaps the stuff that makes me the most sad, irrespective of what happened, it has divided the communities of the Big Island. And I don't think the council people want that. I don't think that, these things could have been prevented if these concerns were addressed properly. They say they want to make the bill portal. If they were addressed properly by having discussions instead of a bombshell of a bill banning all stuff. And that, to me, as a retired scientist who spent my career trying to help people, and I believe I helped them, that makes me sad. Because I was born and raised on a sugar plantation. And at that time, my parents were the low of the lows. Couldn't even talk to the white people there. And I look at all of that, and that's what makes me sad, to see all of that. It could have been prevented.
We were one of the last to leave the parking lot of the county building on Wednesday night. The meeting had long since ended, but not before. More back and forth between Gonzalez and Councilwoman Margaret Willey under the light of a street lamp. Gonzalez admonished Willey for the bill she introduced and said she never attempted to vet it through the farmers. But Willey said hardly any of those farmers accepted her open-door invitation to speak. She also criticized Gonzalez for his continued defense of Hawaii's ag industries that make use of GMO technology.
I know, but you start with where we are. We pause in place, and then if you just let it be part of it and support the exemption and move forward, I think that it would be better for the industry.